Rich, I was just thinking a little bit about where we are today in the market for recycling of catalytic converters. Want to talk a little bit about where we are today, but before we talk about that, I think it would be a good idea to look at where we were. If you look at the last 3 years, 4 years, we saw metals prices on palladium and rhodium rise dramatically. And as a result of that, in the past couple of years, if you were in the business of buying and processing or buying and selling converters, it looks like it was an easy way to make money because you could lay out X amount of dollars. And if it took you, 4 weeks, 8 weeks to turn it on the next 4 to 8 week market cycle,
right,
price appeared to have risen, and you made Y on top of that, the delta that you made on the margin in your deal. So people were making profits that were significant, and this went on for 2 years, 3 years. A lot of profits were made.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't lose money. You had people that were out there saying, "Yeah, I'll give you $200 for that converter," and no, I don't think I'm going to want to sell it. I heard somebody might want to give me $210 or $220 for it. Well, I'll give you $250 then. I'm here now, right?
Right.
And that guy still made money.
Right.
The dynamic was just bizarre. I'd never seen anything like that in any other business. And so that was good for the people who were engaged legitimately in this trade, but it drew a lot of bad actors into the marketplace. We had such high pricing on certain types of converters that it attracted the thieves. Even organized crime stepped into the landscape.
Yeah.
And participated with this trade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a lot of volume. There was a lot of profits. So what occurred during that period of time? Well, we saw a lot of collectors hiring more people, expanding their operations, installing new equipment, spending, capital for equipment. And that was then to meet the need.
Yeah. Profits were good then.
Right. So now let's look at where we are now. At a point here in the recent past, we hit the wall on prices. Palladium peaked around 3,000. Rhodium peaked around 27,000. They started to come off. The first leg down, palladium went back down 2,500. Then it went down to 1,800.
16,
14, 12.
Yeah.
Right now it's around 950. That's a big hit.
Yeah, 2,500 doesn't sound so bad today, does it? But back then we were complaining because we were used to, higher prices.
I wasn't complaining. We were just trying to keep up. We were so busy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then you had 27,000. It was 25, 22 overnight. Dropped to 18,000 rhodium. Rhodium's 4,500 now.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about this is if you look over a 10-year period in the rearview mirror at platinum, palladium, rhodium prices, you see that the pricing we have today, not that bad. We had this anomaly where palladium and rhodium ran up.
Yeah.
And people were making crazy money. And the criminals were stealing all these converters, trying to push them into the supply chain.
Right.
In the last 2 years, we have, as an industry, been trying to squeeze those actors out of the supply chain, and it's starting to take an effect now. We're starting to hear reports at the smelter level that the volumes are off, and I think it's twofold. It's because the price is down. Mm-hmm. There's fewer converters available for recycling because fewer cars are being recycled. That's number one. Number two, I think there's been a significant fall off in the number of converters that are being stolen now because pricing is bad.
Right.
or why should I say bad? When I look at 10 years of average, the pricing's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's bad in comparison to the peak of the market, but that's not
reality.
Gonna continue.
Right.
It's not happening today. So I guess in the rearview mirror of 14 months ago, today's pricing is bad. But the reality is we're probably going to see much lower pricing in the future. But we're not talking about the future. We're talking about today right now.
Right.
So we're talking about today. And so we have what's occurring today is lower volumes. We see that it's harder to make profits in an environment where the pricing has come down. Mm-hmm. So you really got to know what you're doing when you're buying and processing converters now.
Yeah, that's key.
You can't just hold them and recognize higher pricing will come next month, next quarter. It's not happening.
Right.
It's just not happening.
No.
So if you're in a position where you have employees and larger fixed ops operations and more equipment that you have to feed, with a lease or whatever, you're probably struggling. It's probably harder. You're probably in a loss-making situation.
Yeah. It's difficult in today's market.
And because the volumes are off so much, we are seeing that the smelters are offering to the market loss-making terms to the processors, such that they just want to keep their employees working and have their underutilized equipment more fully utilized, keep it operating.
The furnaces?
Yeah. And so that's what we're seeing today. I think what we're also seeing today is that all of our collective efforts in the industry on KYC, Know Your Customer, AML, anti-money laundering programs that we have pushed into the market to our suppliers is disrupting the illegal trade or the gray supply chain, because that material is not coming to the legitimate companies that have these procedures in place.
Right.
So that's why another reason why the smelters are underutilized. It's just not flowing up to that level in the market.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing. So I wanted to look at my notes here just real quick. The pricing, they're good today. They're good if you look back over 10 years, but there's not enough margin.
Right.
Today. And a lot of collectors and processors are hurting. I know of a few that have gone out of business. Mm-hmm. And that's probably going to continue for the next year. Now, that's for today.
Right.
Now, if we talk about tomorrow in the future, what do I see is going to happen? Well, I really believe that we will continue to see Palladium and Rhodium decrease in price because there's really no new demand on the Palladium side. And over the next couple of years, as more and more of these vehicles that are currently on the road that haven't made it into the recycling stream, when they begin to enter the recycling stream as a result of lower interest rates, affordability can afford to buy new.
Comes back.
They can turn in used, and those used cars end up getting into the recycler. And we're going to see more normalcy on the amount of years that are on the road before they get to the recycler. Today, it's almost double the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What did we
10
talk about?
10 years goes to 20 years, right? Well, it'll probably drop down to 15 years and continue to fall. And when that happens, we are going to see a couple of things, all right? These are vehicles that will be entering the supply stream for recycling in the next 2 to 3 years that have more converters mounted on the vehicle.
That's right.
And converters, because they're newer models, and converters that have higher loadings of Palladium and Rhodium.
Right, because the substitution has already taken place.
Well, because there was originally a substitution that substituted Palladium in favor of platinum in the past.
Right.
Today, the substitution has switched back, albeit not 100%. But the point I'm trying to make here is that when the higher number of converters hit the market, the higher loadings, the ounces of palladium and rhodium are going to jump coming into the supply stream. And the offtake on demand at the manufacturer is going to be kind of static and level, and we're going to go into oversupply on these ounces.
Right.
So I'm seeing we're probably going to be looking at 600, 700 palladium in the next 2 to 3 years. That's just kind of my gut.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to be in the 2,500 to 3,000 an ounce rhodium range. So if you don't like the price today, you're not going to like the price in 2 years.
Get ready,
In other words, if there's people out there that are in the industry that are just hanging on, hoping for 2 years ago pricing,
right?
Well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to be rewarded with even lower pricing in 2 to 3 years.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
More volumes, but the pricing will be reduced.
So then what is the silver lining to this conversation? Well, I'm hearing industry insiders say that the number of converters that were recycled in 2023, right? 7 years out to 2030 is going to be 300% increase, 3x.
That's big.
Well, in 23, we had, what do we have, about 20 million converters recycled? That's quite an increase.
3x from that.
And the number of units that are going to become available in the next 7 years.
Right.
Or 6 years from now, this is 24.
Yeah.
But still, that's the silver lining.
Yeah, there'll be more volume.
More volume.
Just
there
lower
will be
pricing.
more volume and just lower pricing.
Yeah.
So there'll be more units to process.
Right.
Just in a lower pricing environment. But that, is that's a good thing. It's just in 2024, it's a little bit slower than it was in 23 with lower pricing. So actually it makes it a lot easier to cash flow for many in the industry with the lower prices.
Oh,
that's
definitely.
That's also a good thing for the silver lining. So I just wanted to talk about these things about where we were, where we are, where I think it's going. I think it's important to share that with people outside in the industry just so they get a feel for what's going on, how we see it.
Right.